The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 seconds, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists, Andy Hoffman from Crypto Gold Central.
Yes, I'm the lone panelist. I better hold up my end of the bargain.
And I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. It's all up to you and me. Moving on to issue 1. Coinbase is exploring a crypto ETF with help from Wall Street giant BlackRock. Coinbase has shown once again, if you're in the Bitcoin business, they'd love to do what you do. From expanding into BitPay's territory, from going after Zappo with their Vault product, and from even moving into trading and fighting all the other trading websites with GDAX and now Coinbase Premium or Coinbase Pro, whatever they changed the name to. Coinbase continues to show that they got here first, and they're willing to take on everyone else's business. Andy Hoffman, what do you think about the Coinbase ETF? Will it be successful, or is it just another nonsense from Coinbase?
Coinbase, so much positive and negative connotation. I mean, for the 3 years that I've worked with them, that I've used them and talked about them and all that stuff, they've probably done a lot more good than bad. I mean, a lot more good. I mean, just about everyone I know has been onboarded into Bitcoin because of Coinbase. Sorry, there goes my camera again. And they've done some pretty evil things and some very good things. And for the most part, it's been very helpful to the cryptocurrency community. And, you know, like what they did with Bcash. Okay, so it caused a lot of hassle, but the fact is Bitcoin is still here and Bcash still stinks. And you know, Coinbase is still getting people on board. As for this particular thing, well, look, they want an ETF. Everyone wants an ETF right now, and no one's getting one. I'm not even sure what this specific one is. I mean, is it like a basket? Is that what they were trying to do, like a basket of different cryptos?
They were saying on their website they were going to have a basket type product, but this still sounds like a Bitcoin ETF.
All right, get in line.
Once they get that done, Ethereum ETF, Litecoin ETF, whatever else Coinbase can get its hands to. They've shown that they have no loyalty to Bitcoin.
Right. Well, I mean, get in line. We've had like 10 that have been denied. And frankly, the only one anyone gives a chance at getting approved anytime soon is the SolidX VanEck. SolidX, you know, they're backed by the CBOE, which is a kind of a semi-government agency that also has Bitcoin futures, and VanEck is one of the oldest mutual fund companies in America. So they are well-established names with ties to insiders. Coinbase is a bunch of, you know, venture capitalists that no one knows that have a track record only a few years old. So why anyone would think that this particular ETF would have any chance is I don't get it. I mean, let's let this first one get done with SolidX VanEck. And I was just saying today, I mean, look, September 30th is the theoretical date of the next decision. I gave odds. I said 20% yes, 30% no, 50% they just delay it to February because that's what they are allowed to do. And you know, eventually they'll be forced to have an ETF because other countries will have ETFs. But right now, I think that ETF thing is on the back burner. I think it's been fully discounted by the market as a no. I don't really care if we get an ETF, although if we do, we're going to see all-time highs quickly. And trust me, the government is well aware that if they approve the ETF, that Bitcoin is going to become the giant, you know, thing that takes over the headlines and starts threatening the, you know, legacy financial assets the second they approve it. And that's why it's so funny that people think that they are going to. But yeah, Coinbase, they can do whatever they want. They're not getting any ETFs anytime soon.
I agree with Andy. I think that the SolidX ETF is much more likely with the CBOE's history. Coinbase is just showing up like yet another .com. They think they can do everything better and faster because they're younger, but that doesn't always work out, especially when you're talking about government regulations. I'd also agree that it's most likely they're going to delay the ETF. I don't have any inside information. I'm not reading a crystal ball. It just seems to me that they don't want to make this decision until they're forced to make this decision. So,
and you know what? I will give Coinbase at least some kudos for speaking to BlackRock. I mean, BlackRock is biggest venture capital firm, or they're the biggest ETF provider in the world. I mean, if you're going to partner with somebody, look, they partnered with Bcash. That was a bad decision. But in the ETF world, if you can become, if you can convince BlackRock that you have something there, well, that's a good thing. Ultimately, I think Coinbase is going to get acquired by somebody. Maybe it is BlackRock, but BlackRock is the king of ETFs.
I enjoyed the Facebook Coinbase rumors from a couple of weeks ago. That actually makes a lot of sense. Amazon's talking about becoming a bank. Coinbase is talking about becoming a bank, and Facebook sure could use a bank as well. But yeah, I think Coinbase is way overshooting here. They're trying to be everything to everybody. We saw this as well with the New York agreement and Segwit 2X. They were so focused on lower fees, they were willing to dump the whole Bitcoin community out of the boat. That didn't work out for them. Now, when I look at their website, I still see a major failure. There's no easy website that tells you buy Bitcoin, buy $20 worth of Bitcoin with less than 3 steps. 1, 2, 3, done, $20. It gets rid of this idea that you can only buy a whole Bitcoin. Their website doesn't do that. If anything, I'd say that their current website encourages you to buy the lower priced coins. You send someone to Coinbase to buy Bitcoin. They look at the price of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, and they buy the cheapest one because they can get the most of it.
I will say about Coinbase though. You know, you look at all these exchanges out there. I mean, I have used many. I have opinions, varying opinions of them, but Coinbase is still the only one that links your bank account and allows credit cards that I can see, and it really helps in the small retail world. I guess all the other ones, just, you know, they all take bank wires, which is fine. I mean, that's the best way to buy. I mean, you get immediate settlement, you can do larger sizes, but the fact is they're the only ones that still do that. And as a result, they're still going to get a lot of new business when the market takes off.
While I still don't like their interface, they have kind of a swiping Snapchat style interface. The Cash App is pretty good. And Cash App will let you connect to your bank account. I think they do a credit card, but again, what I'm looking for is that thing they have on the Apple phones where it takes a picture of your credit card. You don't even have to type it in. I want the easiest way to get someone to buy $20 in Bitcoin. And instead, they're giving people all this other stuff that just confuses them. It makes it more difficult.
Good. Well, I'll root for Cash App. I've heard of it. I don't really know much about it. Good luck to them.
Well, they've got Jack Dorsey from Twitter, so they're doing pretty well. He's their CEO as well.
Twitter's the one that should buy Coinbase. My God, they got this whole captive audience of crypto. They just have not capitalized on it yet. I'm not sure how they do it, but they really need to expand their focus on crypto because that's where the whole crypto community is. It's just amazing that they don't.
Yeah, definitely. Back in the day, I know, from people that I know that ChangeTip met with Twitter, and they were a popular tipping service on Twitter. Of course, they created their own internal ledger, and they were kind of duplicating the features of Bitcoin. But I thought it showed a lot that Twitter would meet with them back in the day. But we saw nothing come of it. They haven't seemed to add a single Bitcoin type thing to their Twitter platform.
Yeah, and we know Jack Dorsey has said that that crypto is the future. But he's juggling his role as CEO of mainstream companies with his probably a lot more deep-seated beliefs inside that crypto is the future. And he's such a wealthy man that it's not as big of a deal for him as us.
And Twitter continues to have other problems with like people visiting the site. They have problems with Alex Jones and Trump and so on and so forth. They have a lot of fires going in a lot of directions, and they still don't even know how to really make money with Twitter. I think they've tried advertising and so on and so forth, but I'm not sure that they're really that profitable yet.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the exit question. Exit question. Will we see a Bitcoin ETF before the end of the year? Andy Hoffman.
20% chance, and probably that's generous. Like you said, unless their hand is forced, like let's say Japan came out with an ETF, then they would have to keep up with the Joneses. But otherwise, they don't need to create this. I can't see why they would want to.
Basic government logic. There's no reason to approve until the deadline. The only real deadline is the last deadline. No ETF in 2018. Moving on to issue 2, Bitcoin Bloodbath. So-called news from Goldman Sachs that they were shutting down their plans for a Bitcoin trading desk may or may not have plunged the price of Bitcoin. Everyone freaked out yesterday when it said that Goldman Sachs was no longer going to be planning a Bitcoin trading desk, and the price of Bitcoin declined almost immediately. Meanwhile, a Mt. Gox whale may or may not have moved 100,000 coins from his cold wallet, where it had been frozen for the last 4 years, onto an exchange. Many people believe that he opened a short on the exchange and then sold a breathtaking amount of coins, causing the price of Bitcoin to go down. The mainstream media responded by linking the price to this Goldman Sachs story, which was proven false a day later, when the Sachs CEO himself went on TechCrunch and said, "We get a lot of stories written about us, and it's nice, but this one is fake news." Andy Hoffman, Goldman Sachs is still into Bitcoin, and the price is still down. We've not recovered. Why does the mainstream media keep trying to link the price to a news event as if it were that simple?
Right. And, you know, I've written so much about this in the past, I mean, if you go on my blog, particularly about Zero Hedge, I just hate Zero. I've had a love-hate relationship with them for so long, going back to precious metals. You know, they were like the anti-precious metal site, but as soon as Bitcoin became big, they suddenly became pro-precious metals and anti-Bitcoin. And look, they are essentially paid by their advertisers, and it's a very guided, the material they have. But again, I always say beware of them trying to attribute Bitcoin's movements. Like almost no news event moves Bitcoin. And we've seen that time and time and again, the movements, it's so completely uncorrelated with legacy financial markets. It often is completely uncorrelated. Yeah, when the Chinese banned Bitcoin, okay, yes, that was a news event. When the Bitcoin Unlimited, I remember when that first started, the whole scaling debate, yeah, that tanked the price for a real reason you could link to a news event. And even the whole thing with this summer in August with the SEC denials, you can't really link it. I mean, look, the price surged beforehand, then it plunged violently when they delayed it. I mean, which we knew they were going. You know, there's a lot of cross currents going on. I think that whole meme that the price plunged in August because there was a denial of the Winklevoss, which we didn't even know they were even applying, and we knew it wasn't going to happen. And then this you know, Solid X being delayed. I think that was kind of making up news after the fact, just like this whole Goldman thing. Now, look, what happened with the Goldman, it was, again, as it came out, as the price was falling, I'm writing, I'm tweeting, I'm okay, come on, let's go news media, find something. And, you know, my motto in Bitcoin is don't look for bad news because you won't find any. And there wasn't any. An hour later, nothing. Then finally, this UK Business Insider, again, this whole thing with Goldman Sachs not having a trading desk, it was one media rag, not the New York Times or anything, something called UK Business Insider. And the guy writes, yeah, from sources, well-known sources, this is definitely true. They're not going to have a crypto trading desk, but they are still going to look for crypto custodial solutions, which of course is, I mean, why is Goldman having a trading desk a good or bad thing? Like, who cares? But the custodial solutions is the important thing, not that they've really done anything other than talk about it. And then, of course, a day later, the Goldman CFO himself says, no, this is fake news. Now, look, as I was tweeting, Goldman has been in the middle of every horrible thing that's gone on in financial markets ever. Certainly in my precious metal world and now in the Bitcoin world, you could say that they're an innocent bystander. I kind of think that there was some collusion going on here with this crazy article getting spread virally. But the fact is, the price of Bitcoin did not fall $1,100 in a day because Goldman was going to have a trading desk or not. There was something going on. Otherwise, don't know what it is. This Mt. Gox whale thing you just brought to my attention for the first time. I mean, did someone move 100,000 coins to an exchange or something, or what did they do?
I think that the amount was 100,000, maybe to a personal wallet, and 15,000 coins went to Bittrex or one of the major exchanges.
Oh, well done then. There's your answer. I mean, that's what happens with when the Mt. Gox trustee was selling. You know, the day we hit bottom in terms of market cap, February 6th, that very day he sold 8,000. I mean, he sent it to the wallet that day, and that's basically that volume traded. And then the second big smash that happened in May when we went from 10,000 down to 6,000 was right after he had moved. I think it was it 15, 20,000, something like that. 24,000 you moved. So, I mean, there's a high correlation. If that Bitcoin whale actually sold, well, that would explain it. And all this conspiracy theory.
It's large moves like this that make me question the value of technical analysis in this emerging market. It seems like Bitcoin is so new and the order book is so thin that at any point a whale can come in, buy or sell, and completely throw off the market. I don't think anyone had this in their charts. Did anyone say that we were going to drop this exact amount within the next 3 days? Sir, people have their overarching crystal ball thing. Oh, it's always going up. Oh, it's always going down. But other than that, I'm not sure what they're actually adding when we see whales moving the market like this.
90, look, first of all, technical analysis, that a lot of the people have ulterior motives of why they have a call, like this perma bears, this perma bulls. Most of them are hedged both ways. They're quote short-term bearish, long-term bullish, and they can always find one way to say that they were right. And of course, they selectively discuss the ones where they were right. But the fact is, when you think about it, if you talk about on one end of the spectrum, you have King TA Fudster. On the other end, you have there's a guy I've just been watching lately called Secret Trader. King TA Fudster is always negative. Secret Trader is always positive. So they both are constantly saying that they're right. But the fact is that King TA Fudster has said for 6 months, we are going to collapse below $6,000. The world's over. And this guy, he's newer, and all the bulls, they don't just say, oh, we're going to go up below. They say, we're going to take off to the moon. Well, guess what? Every single one of them, not only has every one of them been lost because we've been range bound pretty much for the whole year, but because the violent moves within that range, anyone who's listened to their advice has been wrecked. I mean, to say like the price, oh, it went from 6,000 to 10,000. Oh, sorry. I mean, I had a bear call. It's still a bit, look, it's coming back down now. It's a bear market. I was right. No, you weren't right. Just like I'm talking about this other guy the other day. He's like, look, we're going to have a giant move upward. Well, guess what? 24 hours later, we fell $1,100. So again, people, you want to lose all your money, trade. You want to believe that these gurus know what they're talking about. Good luck to you. If they trust me, look, there's not a single person listening to this broadcast that wants to work. Okay, right? You don't want to work. You're not doing this for fun. We don't want to work. If technical analysis really worked, and these are the smartest guys, guess what they would do? They would make a bundle of money and go off on vacation. End of story.
Well, and that also brings up the issue of skin in the game. A lot of these people are out there giving their advice, but they're not actively using it. And that's always a big red flag to me. Somebody tells you to buy something. You say, well, have you bought it? Did you make your move today? Like, are you happy or sad because you did this? And they're like, no, I just hold all my coins. It's like, what?
In King TA Fudster's case, he says, not only would I would never trade Bitcoin. It's because I got too much other stuff to do. It's just, I can't follow it. I could follow the other things, but I would never short Bitcoin because it's too dangerous. But you should short Bitcoin because we're in a massive bull market. Oh, it just went to 10,000. Sorry. It's going to crash. Oh, it just went to 8,000. Sorry. Yeah. And then he has the nerve to yell at everyone. Well, you should be a big boy and not trade. Well, you're the one telling everyone to trade. I mean, it's ridiculous. And the same goes for the bulls also. There's always a motive. Everyone wants to get paid. The fact is, the only way to make money is to hodl over the long term. End of story. If this last week we finally broke out, everyone was so excited, and then the next day this happens and wrecked anyone who traded on the upside or downside. Guarantee it. Anyone.
Well, and when you get involved in a market like Bitcoin, what you really make a bet on is the future. Either the future is Bitcoin or the future is not Bitcoin. So if the future is Bitcoin, you make a ton of money. If the future is not Bitcoin, you don't make any money. That seems like a reasonable investment to me. One way or the other, I'm going to win or lose. Whereas this trying to find the tops and the bottom, trying to predict what the future will be by looking at the past, just seems like it's never going to work out. I usually get less at the top and less at the bottom, and I sell at all the wrong times. And no one seems to be able to figure it out. And again, the people that are actually promoting this stuff aren't trading with it.
Yeah, and
I think that's better. But the ones who are in the highest levels of this, they just tell you what to do, and if you do it, who's the sucker? And
I've been following. Look, I've been in the financial markets 30 years. I mean, like real stuff, like Wall Street stuff, like everything. I followed everything. I know technical analysis, the main tenets of it. I don't spend my whole day staring at it. I mean, I see how it works. Generally speaking, I've never seen anything that it worked less on in Bitcoin. The reason being because A, it's super thin. There's a very, very small float out there. B, because they're adding all these new leverage products into it, which makes it even more. It's almost like a 2x ETF. And then, of course, the fact that there's so much riding on it, like its outlook. One day it's like it's going to change the future, and then the slightest thing come out or FUD, and now it's going to die. And so you get these wild moves constantly. But the fact is that this year, you know, we had this giant move up, and this year we've been range bound. But the range has been extremely volatile, and everyone trading loses money, and everyone hodling is still hodling, and you just hold on and wait. I mean, the bear market to me in Bitcoin ended in February because market cap bottomed in February. In altcoins, hasn't ended yet.
Interesting stuff. Moving on, or actually, I was going to talk more. The media also just follows the leader. This Goldman Sachs story, like you said, it went from Business Insider to every other magazine. They're just following the leader. They don't know what to say about this. They need a new story to write every day. And it's a lot harder to write a story that says the price of Bitcoin went up and down and we don't understand why. It's a lot easier to just say, oh, the price went down because of Goldman Sachs. It was
and if they heard about the Mount Gox whale, and I'm sure they never heard that, that's a very esoteric thing that if they write articles about, no one's going to read, because the average person is, so what the hell are you talking about? The Mount Gox whale sent to his wallet. Oh, Goldman Sachs, that's what it is. Goldman Sachs, we worship Goldman Sachs. If they say anything, markets change. Ridiculous.
Moving on to the exit question. Will Goldman Sachs create a Bitcoin trading desk? Andy Hoffman.
Yeah, one day they'll create a trading desk. I mean, when they deem it most profitable. I mean, look, they're behind the scenes doing all kinds of things. They could say, well, first of all, their venture capital firm bought Poloniex. They're talking actively about trying to find cryptocurrency custodial solutions. Of course they are. They're preparing for the future. And when they deem it profitable, probably when there's the next big bull run, they will have a trading desk. They may have one right now that we don't even know about. They have trading desks doing all kinds of proprietary stuff that they don't tell you about.
I agree. They will have a trading desk. Also, what's important here is to remember that all of these companies, all of these banks, and even the countries are like dominoes. They can't trust each other. So when the first one goes, the second one has to go, the third one has to go. They all have to be in this. So they're just waiting for who's going to turn them over and go Bitcoin next. And when they do, there'll be a huge rush of follow on as everyone else gets involved. Did you know the World Crypto Network has its own audio podcast on iTunes? You can subscribe today and listen to all your favorite World Crypto Network shows for free on iTunes. Audio only, great for doing things in the background, running errands, or even driving the car. Check out the World Crypto Network podcast at iTunes and other places that have podcasts today. Issue 3. CNBC reverse Bitcoin price indicator hits bullseye again. CNBC loves to talk and tweet about crypto, but the problem is they're always wrong. People have started to take note of this, and many are even betting against CNBC now. When the price goes up, they say it's going down. When the price goes down, they say it's going up. Andy Hoffman, why can't CNBC get this right? Why do they keep predicting the price wrong?
Sorry if I'm laughing at this question. Why can't CNBC get it right? I've been, obviously CNBC has been a big part of my life forever. I've been, I've been Wall Street going back to the late 80s. I mean, I call them the Pied Piper. I mean, there's everything that's wrong about the financial markets. I mean, you got Goldman Sachs and you got CNBC. By the way, CNBC with the record high stock markets has record low ratings, because people wrote them off years ago. They are everything about what they do is nefarious. They don't report it as it is. They are trying to get advertising, so they prop up, the most popular people, whether they're likable or not. And of course, anytime in cryptocurrency where they really don't care, they just want the excitement. The price moves, and they're all over it. It's falling. It's going to crash. It's rising. It's going to the moon. And then you got, I remember when Brian Kelly was on Adam Meister's show the first time back in, October, with the wall of crypto, wall of institutional money. And he seemed like such a nice guy, like he doing the show. And I was like, I never heard of this. I haven't watched CNBC in years, but wow, once you saw what he did a few months later and turned into this evil monster. I mean, absolutely destroying people left and right. I remember that Ripple right at the top. He's giving a tutorial on TV. Here's how you send your Bitcoin to which one was it? Poloniex, and sell it for Ripple right at the top when Ripple was like over $3. I mean, anyone who watches CNBC is out of their mind. I doubt anyone in the crypto space does it all. It's probably all the older investors that come in at the end who read the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal and follow. I mean, Jim Cramer, all these guys, stay away, people, please.
Well, and historically with Brian Kelly, I believe he created an altcoin called Nautilus Coin. It started out as kind of a joke. He was just a columnist writing an article about how you could make an altcoin. And then there was some strange thing. They were going to trade Nautilus Coin for some other coin, and it all got pumped and it all went to the moon. So I wasn't too surprised when he turned to promoting Ripple and all these other things. He has his own series of conferences and how-tos where he'll teach you how to trade badly. It just sounds all bad. But once again, if you're looking at the mainstream media, well, what else are you going to get? I mean, that's the best information that you can get right now is what they're putting out there. I was surprised to watch their shows when they started going all about Bitcoin. I was surprised how bad they were. If you go back to the early World Crypto Network shows, you can watch those. And it reminded me a lot of that, except that the people on the World Crypto Network knew what they were talking about. When you look at CNBC, they go back person to person. They're like, well, what about this? What about this? And they give you the hardest opinions they have. And they're just dead wrong, made up out of nothing. And, like, I love Ethereum or I love Ripple, these kind of things.
Yeah. I mean, I remember the one with the Ethereum, the forgotten crypto. You should buy that one. I'm going, no, it's Bcash. It's forgotten. You should buy it. What do you mean it's forgotten? It was trading at like 10% of a Bitcoin at the time. And then you find out, of course, that the person who does the Twitter feed for CNBC, her husband like runs the biggest Bcash fund and is a buddy of Roger Ver. And then, of course, there's the connection with Coinbase. And of course, you look at Brian Kelly's and Rand Nooner's, you look at their Twitter feeds, constantly promotions for altcoins. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that they are getting paid like John McAfee like. So I mean, it's so blatant that obviously anything they say you take with a grain of salt. I don't know if there was a connection with Ripple because it was just so weird. I guess it's a corporation maybe, but and the Bcash. I mean, they're bad people. It's funny with Rand though because he says a lot of crazy bad things, but at the same time he says a lot of really smart things too. So I kind of just watch him cautiously because he's one of the smarter people out there, but he's also a bit compromised, but nothing like Brian Kelly and the guys in New York. They are off the charts.
I also think we should acknowledge they're in a tough position here.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're talking about. There is no historical example to go back to. So if you really want to understand what's happening now, you can only really read the dailies, read the technology, understand the basics of what's going on. And then, it's all up in the air. No one knows if Bitcoin's going straight to the moon or straight down, if it's going to be payments, if it's going to be holding value, if one of these altcoins is going to take off. All of this is so much up in the air, and they just don't have a chance, it feels like. But we'll just have to see how they go if they get any better.
Yeah, CNBC is not going to be. They're no longer a go-to for stocks, and they're certainly not going to be a go-to for crypto.
Exit question. Where should you get your information about crypto? If cable news is so far behind the days and Google News searches are full with nothing but articles about the price, and the price, Andy Hoffman, where do you go to get your crypto news?
Well, obviously, World Crypto Network is a very good source. And I'm not just saying it because of me. I mean, I'm here because I watched it religiously for, starting in early 2016. There's a lot of quality here. But there are other places too. The thing is, though, they are hard to find because there's a sea of bad information. There's so many people out there that are, pumping things or technical analysis. So really what you got to do is you just got to scour Twitter and find people. People retweet stuff. And then that's really how I found pretty much everyone that, whether I heard them on World Crypto Network or just got, found their feed on Twitter. That's the best place to find good info.
I would agree with that. I would say Twitter or YouTube. Of course, on YouTube, it's very important to have a litmus test. You need to have some kind of standard of quality for who you're listening to, especially if you're going to go out and trade on that information, which again, we're not advising here. We're saying mainly you should be holding or dollar cost averaging. You shouldn't have more than you can afford to lose. And if you're like me, you're betting that it's either Bitcoin's everything or Bitcoin's nothing. That's an acceptable bet, but this trying to time the market is just going to drive you crazy. So check out Twitter, check out YouTube, but with a grain of salt. Don't trust anyone, even me. So
and don't trade Bitcoin. Just don't do it. Don't trade altcoins. Don't. I mean, if there's an altcoin you happen to like, you know, I was talking about Steam lately. Well, then you hodl that too. You don't trade any of these things.
exactly. The way to make money on these altcoins was to buy a bunch of them early, wait for it to pump, and sell before it dumps. It's very hard to do, to time all that correctly, to find the right altcoin, the one that's popular, and so on and so forth. And if you're going to do that, that's a speculative investment. That's different than your Bitcoin investment, which I think is a little safer long term because of the size of the Bitcoin network and
A
the amount of
little,
people.
I would say about 100 times safer.
It is. It's a lot safer. Well, but even then, Bitcoin, it's up and down too. It's a
long term.
wild
You said
thing.
long term. Long term, Bitcoin is much safer than anything by many multiples.
And it's better than the US dollar. I remember when I first got into Bitcoin, I didn't have a lot of money, but I put all my money in there because it just felt better to be off the US dollar. And I didn't really, I couldn't get anyone to take Bitcoin. I had to shop with the dollar. I have debts in the dollar. But it was exciting to have my money in something that wasn't the government and that wasn't this fiat overprinted Federal Reserve notes.
Right. Well, before I had Bitcoin, what did I have? Gold. I mean, I've always had a small amount of dollars. I had a lot of gold and silver. And then when Bitcoin came along, I decided it's better. And now I have no gold and silver, but I have a lot of Bitcoin.
And I was always interested in gold, but never had any money.
So, good. You're believe me, you're a happier person for it. Trust me.
Yeah, it worked out pretty good. I got a couple of pieces of silver, and I think they're worth half the value that I put in them. So, oh well, and I don't even know where they are. But moving on to issue 4, Iran legitimizes crypto mining industry. The Bitcoin price spikes to 24,000 locally. This is exciting news from Iran, but this is also controversial news for Bitcoin. We've often talked about how Bitcoin isn't controlled by the US government or any other government or central bank. And here we see how Bitcoin has the power to disrupt not just payments and finance, but actually international relations. Iran is attempting to use Bitcoin and cryptocurrency mining to evade sanctions. As we know, Iran is under a lot of sanctions because of their nuclear program, as well as their position in the Middle East and so on and so forth. They are now trying to get around this by using Bitcoin and mining cryptocurrency. Andy Hoffman, do you think Iran will be successful? Will this new idea of perhaps questionable countries switching to Bitcoin or encouraging Bitcoin in order to challenge the existing ruling countries?
Right. Well, I mean, this goes all the way back to the whole thing with the petrodollar. Countries are mad at the U.S., particularly Middle Eastern countries like Iran that have been sanctioned, or Russia. So they say, we're going to go around the petrodollar. We're going to use rubles. We're going to use gold. And they've been trying for years. It's not easy to do. And no one's really succeeded at it. And a lot of people have said they're going to do it, like, say, Iraq were bombed. This is when you're talking about gold. And crypto is such a more nascent industry and much smaller than gold. So to say that Iran is going to disrupt the market, I mean, this is just Iran. I mean, the one thing, if China said we're not going to spend dollars, we're going to use Bitcoin, but China has all the gold in the world and they still haven't done it. So it's a non-story. Look, every country ultimately is going to want to own Bitcoin because it's going to appreciate in value. And it is a way of getting back at the US. Gold has failed at that. And in the age of Bitcoin, it definitely, I mean, it'll fail at everything. Gold is done. So this will be something for the future, but not anytime soon. First, the governments have to acquire substantial Bitcoin reserves, and it becomes much more valuable as an asset class before it's going to have any geopolitical impact. But it will in time.
I'm not sure it's a non-story. If I was China, I would be sitting on the sidelines, curious to see the results of this experiment. I see it as a test case or a test lab to see how Bitcoin and cryptocurrency mining could change a country like Iran and could challenge the whole global order. So I think it's important, but probably not as much as, say, Iran adopting Bitcoin as their official currency, or like you mentioned, a country like Iraq or Venezuela selling oil in Bitcoin. Previously, any country that's ever sold oil and anything other than USD has been promptly invaded. So that would be a more dramatic turn to this story.
The whole thing with it's so silly why anyone would think that Bitcoin has much downside here is central banks, remember, they print money, right? They buy stocks, bonds, countries, they buy whatever they want with printed money. I mean, there's no doubt some are buying Bitcoin now. I mean, I've said it all along. I cannot believe the Japanese are not, with all that debt and the fact that they are probably the most crypto receptive country in the world. I mean, they're not stupid. They're printing some yen and buying some Bitcoin with it. And ultimately, all the countries will. They don't have to watch the experiment. They can own some. China could just confiscate some. They probably could have taken some of all these exchanges that were closed, or they could just print some yuan and buy some. So ultimately, everyone's going to do it. It's just a matter. I mean, some are definitely doing it now, but it's only a matter of time before they all start really doing it. And then we could see the experiment in real life when they actually have super valuable reserves.
Exit question. Which country that is a little questionable will try Bitcoin next, other than Iran?
Well, probably not Venezuela, because they want the petro to work. And they also don't have much money. I mean, Venezuela's broke. There's all kinds of countries. And, I mean, Greece. I don't know. There's just so many out there that are candidates. Obviously, Bulgaria, because they saw their national debt drop dramatically because they accidentally seized some Bitcoin. There would be a good candidate who says, yeah, we have some extra money. This is great. Let's buy more. Maybe one day we'll change the power structure of Europe by being wealthy. So, yeah, I mean, it'll probably be something out of left field, but I still believe that Japan has the most to gain and the most ability to understand what they're doing.
While I don't think it will trickle down to the people, I believe the government of North Korea has the most reason to get into Bitcoin, especially their leader or leaders at the top. There's never been a better way to steal money from the people, hold it in something small like a trezor, and plan for the day when you have to flee the country. It makes
perfect
sense for every dictator. Yeah.
Yeah, like they're like Iran, completely oppressed, sanctioned, and this would be a great way to get a they got South Korea. They're big. Well, South Korea is probably going to be buying it too. Maybe the two of them should unite and become the most powerful country in Europe, in Asia. But yeah, North Korea. Look, any of these depressed, debt-ridden nations, why not try it?
And especially for any of these corrupt leaders. If you have to flee, you can't take the palace with you. You can't take the antique furniture with you.
Gold bars.
Bitcoin, gold bars, too heavy, too many men needed to move them around. Plus, people know it's valuable. They see you with a stack of gold bars. They're like, this guy's got some money. It's gold bar time. But they see you with a Bitcoin or a trezor in your pocket or somewhere else that you're concealing it. And I think it's a great new exit strategy for dictators everywhere. Once again, Bitcoin brings us good things. It also brings us bad things. But that's not to say these guys wouldn't eventually be caught. Bitcoin's pretty traceable now. They're usually not so great at that, but still being able to extract so much value from a country and then just move across the world and bring that value back.
Yeah, remember the Saudi, what was it the Saudi prince who they banned? Who's worth billions, and then they somehow they just kind of kicked him out of secession and put him in jail and stuff and took his assets. If he had some Bitcoin, then he's fine.
That's the other great part about this. We were talking about Bill Cosby, and he might be hiding his divorce for his money from his divorce. So in a theory, he could be locked it into crypto, be the only one with the password, and they have to put him in jail to sweat the password out of him. Otherwise, the entire divorce structure in the United States goes away, because for the first time, you can actually, we're not sure if it's going to work yet, hide your money from a divorce.
Yeah, that's Adam Meister's been talking about that forever. It's not just hide it from a divorce, it's just hide money. No one knows about it. That's the beauty of it. It can't be confiscated.
You could just say you forgot the password or you sent it somewhere to buy something. It's not even your money anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty easy. So we did the exit question. We're moving on to special issue number 5. Bitmain's AntPool activates controversial ASIC boost for faster Bitcoin mining. And both Andy and I were scratching our heads at this one. We thought that SegWit deactivated ASIC boost. I read a couple of continual articles here to try to get more information about this. They say that perhaps the overt version is easily detectable and the covert one isn't. Perhaps Bitmain has just switched from covert ASIC boost to overt ASIC boost. In general, I believe this story shows that Bitmain is in quite a lot of trouble. They do have what could be one of the world's biggest IPOs looking ahead of them, but their decision to sell 50,000 Bitcoin in exchange for 1 million Bcash continues to not turn out well. And now they have old chips, a failed AI program, and their chip designer quit. Is Bitmain in dire straits, and are they so desperate that they're using this ASIC boost cheat to boost their mining farms? Andy Hoffman.
Yes. Wow. So they sold 50,000 Bitcoin for Bcash. Wow. That might be the worst trade in the history of financial markets. I wonder how much.
It's historically bad, and it's a violation of their duty to their stockholders or their investors just to blindly make this crazy bet on a new currency when you have this Bitcoin.
Well, when they were when they're a private company, they could do whatever they want, but that's the whole point. If you want to go public, there's going to be some changes. And for that matter, I wonder how much Bitcoin that Roger Ver, because he says all kinds of things. How much of his stash, what percent of his stash did he actually sell for Bcash? Same kind of thing, but that's another story. So okay, so Bitmain. Yes, again, the whole thing with the IPO. If you want to go public, you have to, as we know, disclose your books and get a board of directors and have shareholders that, I wouldn't be surprised if I know that they have financial issues, because anyone who's looking at that balance sheet, who's looking to go in the IPO, realizes that that their biggest asset is unbelievably illiquid. You cannot sell that Bcash. You can't. I mean, you can drive the price down to nothing by doing it. So that asset doesn't count. It's a discounted asset. And so that's going to be a major issue with getting the pricing of this IPO. They may actually kick Jihan out. They may say, we're not giving you money without this, because he has not proven that he's a genius. He's proven that he once did great things, but as we said in the last show, he squandered it. So, and then, of course, you have market conditions. If altcoins are getting crushed, if Bitcoin does not act well, there's no way that IPO is going to get done. And Bitmain will be in significant financial straits and will have to be sold in a fire sale basis. So it's interesting to see what will happen with Bitmain. They really need a big bull market to save them right now. And right now they are not getting it. As for this ASIC boosting, like you said, we're both talking before this. I mean, we spent a whole year talking about the scaling debate. They just want to have Bcash and not have SegWit because they can use ASIC boost. But now they're saying they are using it, but there is SegWit. So I'm completely baffled. I'm sure it's obviously not a big issue. Like the Bitcoin network couldn't care less what Bitmain's doing. But I'm baffled. Like you said, I guess Bitmain is desperate to do whatever they can. I just don't even understand how that would work.
Absolutely. I think this is an act of desperation. They're trying to get the most money they can out of these old chips. Samson Mao has been dragging them through the mud all over Twitter, saying they've got a library full of old chips. They haven't made a new chip since 2015. The e-bang manufacturers have smaller chips. I remember smaller chips, less heat, more instructions. You can fit more of them on a board, so on and so forth. They have serious technological competition coming in, plus the bad Bcash decision. The real question is going to be, when do they sell that Bcash and who sells first? Will it be Jihan? Will it be Roger Ver? I don't know if Craig Wright, supposed Satoshi, has any Bcash or if he's going to sell, but we have to watch for which one's going to betray each other first. Certainly, if Bitmain does become a public company, it would be hugely irresponsible to continue holding all that Bcash. They'd probably have to start dumping it slowly, 5 or 10% a week, something like that. Try to get their money out of it. Of course, any major dumps by Bitmain could collapse the entire Bcash market. So I don't know how they're going to get their money out of there. But if I took over that company, I'd be selling some of that stuff right away.
Well, look, the IPO is, quote, proposed for September. That doesn't mean anything. It can get delayed indefinitely. So, for all we know, a lot of this craziness in the market is still them desperately trying to get more liquid in front of the IPO. We don't know that, but it's very possible. They showed their books. They showed their books as of the end of March. Since then, things have gotten vastly worse for their books. So, and again, you know, we talked before about this whole, they're not a chip company. They're done with that. Okay. They're competing with the Samsungs in the world, which are laughing at them, and many other companies. So they're out of that business. They're done. They're out of, they're pretty much all they got left is their mining market share, and they're hampered by this capital need that only outside money is going to give them. My guess is what's going to happen is they will get the deal done, but it will severely hurt them. They'll probably have to change their management. They'll probably be forced to sell the Bcash at a huge discount. They're not going to dump it on the market. I mean, it'll look like what Bitcoin looked like the other night, but all the way down to nothing. If they try to dump it, they'll probably find, you know, what, let's say it's worth, okay, let's say if they have 1 million Bcash, so it's worth, you know, $500 million now. They'll say, look, we're going to go public, and part of what we're doing is we're going to get liquid. We're going to sell it for 50 cents on the dollar. We'll find someone to give us $250 million for our 1 million Bcash, a 50% discount. And anyone who's a bag holder who still is investing in this piece of crap is going to get a 50% haircut. Or if they're lucky, you have a big Bitcoin bull market save them. Could happen. But, you know, the law, Murphy's Law says that when you're trying to get your deal done, it's unlikely that will happen. So they'll probably be forced to downsize more. And, you know, Bitmain, just another, you know, it'll be an interesting historical story about Bitcoin, how they were once the most powerful, and then they kind of lost it, and other people became more powerful.
Exit question. Who will sell their Bcash first, Roger Ver or Jihan and Bitmain?
They probably will pool the efforts. Like, I mean, everyone knows they're partners. If Bitmain is going to be selling theirs for 50 cents on the dollar, it wouldn't surprise me if Roger Ver says, yeah, let me in on this block trade. I will, because he obviously has less than Bitmain does. And, you know, they may all do it. That's how it works on Wall Street. You do a block trade, you find a bunch of sellers to do a one-time block trade in an illiquid market. So I have a feeling that if something like that happened, a lot of the Bcash whales would want to be a part of it. And you know what they'd want to do with their Bcash? Convert it to Bitcoin.
There's some disagreement with the chat here. People are saying Jihan will sell first. I disagree. It will be Roger Ver. Jihan currently is locked because the company's in IPO, so I don't think they could make such a large sell or a change in their attitude and strategy. But once the IPO is approved, Roger Ver will see the writing on the wall and ditch his Bcash. The immortal survivor, sneaking in and out of this market. Like Andy said, I don't think he sold all of his Bitcoin like he said he did, or a significant portion. I think that, fortunately or unfortunately, whatever way you want to think, Roger Ver is going to be fine in all this situation. But I agree with Andy. Bitmain will be this horror story that people tell their children. An incredibly popular company in a great position, incredibly valuable, throwing it all away. Disagreements with the chip designer, moving into AI too quickly, and failing to develop a follow-up to their Antminer.
Just a typical Shakespearean hubris story. Money and greed.
The fault, dear Brutus, lies not in our stars, but in ourselves. Mm-hmm. Moving on to the end of the show, predictions or story of the week. Andy Hoffman, are you ready with a prediction or a story of the week?
Yeah, it's so funny because I have so much going on. I always forget that I have to come up with this, but I have something. Look, the altcoins are right now in a raging bear market. I mean, they're pretty much, just about all of them are near their lows. Bitcoin is not in a bull or a bear market, but it's certainly closer to its lows than its highs, much closer. And yet the interest that I'm seeing in things I do is rising. I mean, my consultations pretty much died for a few months. Price is the same as it was back then, but I'm doing a lot of consultations now. My Twitter feed was stuck at the same level it was stuck at like 13,500 for months. And all of a sudden it's gone up 500 people in the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks. I'm guessing if you looked at the number of searches on Google and stuff, I haven't looked, I bet it's starting to rise. I just think people are getting jaded by what's happening. They're starting to realize Bitcoin's not going away, and they're just showing more interest. It's a good early sign in my view, that interest is returning to the space.
Well, I sure hope so, because I was disheartened to see that the Google searches were down 2/3. That's quite a lot. Also, of course, views have been a little down here at the network and so on and so forth. We continue trying to make great content, and we appreciate it a lot when you guys support us by giving us a thumbs up or a share down below, as well as subscribing, tweeting about us, leaving timestamps in their comments, even leaving comments. All of these things help support the show. And we had a really great show this morning, Bitcoin Talk Show. We do a little live. It's kind of like a radio call-in show. I've been doing it for a couple months now. And this morning, we just had a great call from Venezuela. So if you want to check that out, go to Twitter/MadBitcoins or right here on the World Crypto Network. It's around an hour and a half into this morning's show. But the caller from Venezuela told us all about what was going on there, about his main complaint, which I want to echo because this is what he called in to tell me, is that he is upset by the Dash people who are trying to sell Dash in Venezuela. A lot of his friends have mined Dash and then lost their money. Other friends have held Dash and lost their money. He sees it as kind of irresponsible what they're doing, claiming that they're so successful in Venezuela and trying to teach these people who are in a desperate situation, who this is not the kind of people that you need to be saying Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash, or maybe would you like some Ripple? These people need something that's going to hold value, as their currency is in a complete free fall. The government keeps printing it. You get paid on Friday. You want to spend your money immediately to buy food or things that don't go bad, canned food, things like this, because the value of the bolivar is dropping so much. So it was really informative to listen to a direct source who was there. I think I got to ask him some good questions, and I asked him to call back in next week or maybe a few weeks later. So hopefully we'll be able to continually get you updates from Venezuela. On the call-in show, anyone in the world can call in. I've been doing the show every day from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Pacific Coast time. So check it out right here on the World Crypto Network. And I think that's about it for the show. Andy, anything else you want to say in closing? Where can people check out your work?
No, just Andy _Hoffman_CG, of course, CryptoGoldCentral.com. And yeah, we'll just keep fighting the fight and putting out the good information. I really think that the tide is turning in the Bitcoin world. I think there's a lot more recognition of it. Look, we're about to hit a 10-year anniversary of Bitcoin Network running successfully. So I've never been more bullish about what's going on at Bitcoin, and I've never been more bullish about holding it at these prices.
A 10-year anniversary for Bitcoin coming up. And of course, we have the 5-year anniversary of the World Crypto Network coming up in February. We started this back in 2014. I started Mad Bitcoins the year earlier in 2013. As always, you can help support this show by donating Bitcoin or any of the altcoins accepted by Trezor to the QR codes on your screen right now. Thanks to everybody for giving us a thumbs up and a share. It's been very active in the chat. I've been only able to watch part of it, but we have around 220 live viewers, which is really great for this show and for a Friday. So thanks so much for checking in with us. Be sure to subscribe down below. And until next time, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.